Yeah, I think being part of the Marvel universe wasn't something I'd ever really pursued per se, but when this came along, I was really excited to learn more. And Kate Herron, our director, pitched the whole 6 episodes to me over the phone in about 2 hours, which was kind of mind blowing to get my head around the scope and scale of the TVA and this whole new element of the world. But yeah, and then the idea of being a part of a Loki show, an anti-hero, a mischievous character that everybody knows and loves, and to be able to see, new layers to his journey was really cool. And then my character, Ravonna Renslayer, a character I wasn't necessarily familiar with, but understanding that she's a judge, she's authoritative, she's respected and powerful, and she has sort of morally, complex decisions to make. I don't know. I found the whole thing really intriguing, and also just the chance to do some action, some fights, some more physical, comic book kind of stuff, was really enticing as well. So what attracted me to the part of Ravonna Renslayer was really the fact that this is almost her origin story, if you like, and she obviously has a whole life in the comics. But for me to be able to play a judge, this authoritative figure who's powerful and respected, I hadn't really played a character like that before, with that kind of gravitas. So I was excited for the challenge of that. And also the fact that she has this backstory as a hunter coming up the ranks from a military background. So knowing that she, is tough and has really, risen up the ranks through her own sheer grit and determination was really exciting. And then just also the dynamic with Mobius, Owen Wilson's character, I thought would be really fun, as she's his boss essentially, and he's sort of this maverick agent that has these sort of harebrained, more sort of reckless ideas, and she's always trying to sort of tow him to line, and with the timekeepers as well. So I thought there was just a lot of scope for some fun dynamics to play. It was so great working with our director, Kate Herron. She's just amazing. And what was wonderful is that she is directing all 6 episodes. So it was really cool to feel like we were essentially doing one long movie. Sometimes in TV you have different directors, almost every couple of weeks. And with this, Kate really was the vision, and the vision was, from her from beginning to end. So that's really great as an actor to have that kind of continuity. And she's just so thorough and so passionate about the world, and so detailed, and great with actors. She's got this really calm, centered energy about her. Yeah, I just loved working with her. I'm so excited for what she does next. I had such a great time working with both Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson. The dynamics with our characters are quite different, I would say. Initially with Tom, who I knew a little bit from drama school many years ago. We were at drama school at the same time, so that was nice already to have that shared experience. But also, his character, obviously, as everyone knows, the god of mischief. He's cheeky, he breaks the rules, and Renslayer is sort of the opposite end of the spectrum. She's very sort of straight and steady, and she respects the rules and authority, and she is the authority. So when they first meet, it's kind of a fun sort of clash, personality clash, because he doesn't have any of his powers at his disposal. She's not used to anyone being so disrespectful towards her, and so that was really fun to play in the courtroom. And then in terms of Owen's character, Mobius, that's a slightly different dynamic, and was really fun to work on, because Ravonna and Mobius have a sort of long-standing friendship. They've worked together for many years, and I think she has a bit of a soft spot for him in her heart. But she's also very professional. She's worked her way up the ladder, and she's not going to let anything compromise where she's got to in her career. So but he is still able to kind of charm her and, you know, sort of disarm her in a way that, you know, she probably allows him to get away with a bit more than she would any of the other agents in the TVA. So it's fun because it gives us a chance to show sort of the public and private sides of Ravonna, you know, her sort of more professional facade that she uses, you know, in the TVA, but then in her office, when she's sort of unwinding, you know, after a long, difficult day and sort of chatting with Mobius, we get to see a more relaxed side to her and, you know, maybe even a bit of a sense of humor. So that's kind of fun. The sets on the show were amazing and they were so detailed. I have to say, the production design, it was just like sort of having looked at some of the imagery and the concept art, and then to step onto the sets, it's like stepping into the drawing. I mean, it was so transformative. And, you know, especially Renslayer's office, my character's office, you know, with the timekeepers, you know, the statues of the timekeepers and the big desk and the drinks cabinet and the reel-to-reel tape player, you know, that essence of that sort of 50s modern style, almost Mad Men-esque tone to her world, but obviously with a TVA twist, you know. And then some of the other sets, I mean, and sets that I didn't even get to act on, but I just sort of peeked at, you know, for other scenes and other places where the show goes. They're just such a big scope and scale to them, which is really exciting.
I'm a fan of the MCU and the sci-fi genre, so having a chance to direct Loki was honestly a dream come true. Like, I love the character. I think he has one of the best arcs across the MCU for the last 10 years. And I've always loved sci-fi and I've always wanted to direct big, bold genre stories. And I just, you know, it was these two things I really love coming together. So I'm just really excited to share that with everyone. So my vision for the series, I always try and have like a central question every time I go into a story. And I really wanted to explore, like, is anyone truly good or truly bad? And can we move past our, like, you know, actions in the past? Will they always define us, or can we move past those? And I think Loki is a fantastic example of that, and also that gray area between good and bad. And I was really keen to kind of talk about Loki's identity and just, you know, where he will travel in our story. So I would say the theme of the series is about self and identity, but within a giant sci-fi mystery story that I would say has a lot of heart. And it's Loki, right? So it's going to have a lot of wit as well. The most important element for me that I wanted to bring to the series was honestly just really giving Loki a chance to shine, because he's only had, I think it's 79 minutes of screen time across the other MCU films. And I really wanted to make the 6 hours worth it and dig into things that, you know, maybe we couldn't have spoke about before, like within a 2 hour time. So I think it really gave us a chance to really dig into his character. It was really important to me to have practical sets across the show because, you know, we were setting up a whole new corner of the MCU, and I was really inspired by films like Eternal Sunshine and Scott Pilgrim, both in like very heightened fantastical settings. But I really wanted our characters to be able to set, you know, for example, in episode 1, you see Loki and Mobius exit an elevator, walk down a very long hallway and go into the time theater. And we practically built that. But for me, you know, the TVA is this very fantastical place that exists outside of space and time, but I still wanted it to feel like a real place that we could understand. And I think I love doing long takes, and I really was excited by the idea of that, like having these kind of realities that we could play in. And it was really important to both me and Kazra and Autumn, the whole team. And Kazra is the production designer and Autumn's my DP. Again, just in keeping the style and trying to make the TVA feel grounded and real in obviously a very fantastical setting. So working with Tom was a dream. He's a very generous actor and he's lovely and he's very studious like I am. And Owen, I adore. I think his work is fantastic, both as an actor and writer. So I think the fun thing with both of them is like Owen is sort of representing order within this bureaucracy, and Tom obviously is chaotic. He's playing Loki. And I think bringing together that order and chaos, I think it's just such a beautiful thing to behold, because the first episode really is like this chess match between these two characters. And I think the fun of it is like, we couldn't have predicted obviously the chemistry that they would both have together. And I just think it's electric. You can't predict that. But as soon as we were rolling cameras, it was just like, oh, there's something very special going on here. So yeah, so I'm just excited for everyone to see it. I think what viewers should expect when they sit down to watch Loki is a really fun, sprawling sci-fi story, but with a character that we all love at the center on a very new journey.
I'm so excited to be a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, I fell in love with Marvel after watching Black Panther, and I was convinced that I needed to be a part of the universe after that. And so I was really, really excited and humbled to get offered this part in Loki. What I love about Hunter B15 is that she's a stickler for the rules. And I think that's something that I kind of am too. I do not like breaking the rules, like, not really. I mean, sometimes I do. But I guess sometimes we all have to, right? But yeah, I really love that she is someone who, like, right and wrong is something that motivates her. It's like she wants to constantly be on the good side of history, of, you know, and that's something that I really admire about her. Yeah. I don't know how similar we are. I feel like that not wanting to break the rules definitely feels similar, but she's quite a lot tougher than me. She can handle herself in a way that I definitely cannot. So Hunter B15 is a hunter for the TVA, and basically her job is to catch variants of people who disrupt the timeline. And the TVA is there in order to keep the timeline in its perfect condition. And so that's what B15, that's her goal, her only, like, you know, that's the only thing that drives her, is making sure that this order is in place and remains in place. Yeah, it was really fun to play opposite Owen. Our characters have such different ideas of doing things, and yeah, like, she's a stickler for the rules, and he's kind of like, oh, let's go left all the time. And so they're just so different. They're just so different in the way they handle things, and it's this kind of constant shifting to kind of get some sort of, like, balance of, like, and unity, but the goal is still the same. The goal is still the TVA. It's just their route to that order is a little different. I loved working with Kate. Kate Herron is an absolute sweetheart, and she's so passionate about our world and us as people and our characters and the Marvel universe. Like, she's totally she's a dream. She's actually just a dream. I love her. I do. I really love her, and I'm so grateful that she cast me in this, because yeah, I feel like it needed to be her, or else I may not be here, you know. She's great. So we had stunt training every day pre-pandemic. We had stunt training, and we would do, like, drills. So, like, kind of figure out how a hunter, you know, the training that a hunter would have gone through, we basically were trying to emulate that. And so we all kind of did the same thing. So we all had the same physical vocabulary and understanding of our costumes and how our props worked. So yeah, it was quite physical. Yeah, it was an everyday kind of, check in and make sure we got it right. It was a dream working with Tom. Tom is he's a sweetheart, and he was my third year at drama school, so I was his first year, so I was always looking up to him. And so it was really quite like, you get a little bit nervous when it's someone who's the years above you. You feel that kind of like, oh, that's my third year. And he was just really like open and warm and got us all into this world and made us feel like we were always a part of it. And yeah, so it was great. Tom's totally dedicated to us all being our best. And that's quite special. So he would take time to run lines with you. I mean, he really did take time to run lines with you, which was like, I've never had another actor just go through like my monologue, like 50 times. He's a dream. He really is.
My first thoughts when I came on to the Loki series as the writer was just, okay, I'm very excited. And then my second thought was, wow, I got a lot of work to do. I think that there were two big challenges ahead of us right out the gate. The first of which was there'd been 10 years of stories featuring Loki. Here we were doing a 6-hour TV show. How are we going to do something new? We had to break new ground with this character. That was really important. And then the second challenge was just, it's a time travel show. So how are we going to depict time travel in a way that it can withstand week-to-week scrutiny from our very smart fans? And so excitement followed by paralyzing fear. With the Time Variance Authority, I drew inspiration first off from the comics. I familiarized myself with all of their appearances in the comics in different runs of Thor, Fantastic Four, She-Hulk as well. And then from there, I also leaned on Kevin Wright and Stephen Broussard, our two on-the-ground creative producers from Marvel, who had been doing a lot of research on the TVA even before I came on board. And then I just watched a lot of time travel movies. Back to the Future, Looper, Time Cop, Time Crimes, different stuff like that, just seeing the ways that what are the different kinds of time travel rules? What are the different ways that time travel rules are established and held up in different movies and everything? And then I just figured out, all right, what do we want to rip off? So the first episode starts as Loki picks up the Tesseract during the events of Avengers Endgame and disappears through that space stone portal. And I think that it's the perfect place for this series to start, because the god of mischief and chaos has just done the most chaotic thing possible. He's picked up this thing, gotten away from the Avengers when he was not supposed to. Where is he going to go? What's supposed to happen next? That's where the TVA comes in. And so that's why it was just a very exciting jumping off point. In the Loki series, we're going to see Loki in ways that we've never seen him, mainly because we're going to see so much of him. There's 6 episodes and he's center stage. He's not backseat to Thor, and he's not a villain in this one. He's the center of this show. And so we're going to be able to explore his own personality, his own shortcomings, and sort of like excavate his feelings in a way that you've never been able to in the movies before. As a writer, that's really exciting, because we're just going to get to go more in depth on a character that everybody already loved from the movies, and now they're just going to get to spend that much more time with him. it was really helpful to have 6 episodes to tell this Loki story because it's just more time. And that means that we can afford to luxuriate in the quieter moments where I think that's where some of the greatest drama comes from. In a 2 or 3 hour movie, the pace has to be nonstop, and there's so much that you've got to keep moving. There were opportunities to digress into more character-based moments, like all great television does in this, and that was the reason it was really exciting to do 6 hours. I think the most challenging aspect of writing the series was probably just the creation and definition of the rules of time travel. We had to create an institutional knowledge among the writing staff and the creative staff of just what does the TVA do? Why do they do it? What is a time law and how is it broken? And once we'd done that, we had to then figure out a way to communicate it to the audience in a manner that wasn't boring and didn't distract you from the more compelling stuff with characters and the broader story. So that was our biggest challenge for sure. I'm going to say rascal. It's a word I use a lot to describe Loki and Mobius, and it's just they're 2 guys that they're always sort of pushing the rules, pushing the boundaries. You never quite know what they're going to get up to next, and even though they're both very different, it seems on the surface, they're sort of united in that, in the fact that they're rascals.
Well, it's exciting to be a part of the MCU and also to be sort of working on this series that is kind of introducing kind of a whole new storyline and showing the Marvel fans, introducing them to a new world. What attracted me to the role of Mobius is when I spoke with the director and Kate walked me through the dynamic that would exist between Loki and Mobius, and it just sounded like something that was kind of interesting, the way it was going to sort of be a little bit of a chess match, and and are these guys, is it just a business where Mobius is, using Loki? Is there any feeling behind there? It's just, there's kind of interesting nuances to play. Mobius, I think that is what sort of, if anything, can help keep him on equal footing and stay, a couple steps ahead of Loki. It's the fact that he has the TVA behind him, and what the TVA kind of represents, this sort of power to control the timeline. And so the fact that I'm, able to know things about Loki that he doesn't even know about himself gives me, a certain power over him and helps me to negotiate with him. Yeah, I think that the relationship between Loki and my character Mobius is very fluid. It's, they're 2 people that if there's a way for them to sort of use each other for their agenda, they'll do that. And I think in a way, even though you can't trust Loki, that they're in not being able to trust him and knowing that about him, Mobius does in a way trust him, if that makes any sense. Well, I know that what really helped me with this character was, the whole look that the character had, but even the sets that had been designed for this. I think visually, this series is certainly going to be one of the most interesting things that I've worked on, and the look and the sort of what the TVA, the paranoia, sort of big brother aspect to it that is going to be, I think that's going to be, disconcerting and interesting to people. Yeah, my experience working with Kate and what I appreciated, about, Kate's background and shows that she had worked on was that she was very open and encouraging to any ideas that we had, and kind of explaining if I did have a question about sort of the, kind of what exactly was happening sometimes. And so it's just very easy to talk to, and then working with Tom was great, and I really appreciated kind of the time before we started filming where he, kind of, we called it the Loki school, kind of explaining the whole MCU and all his sort of his character's journey, because a lot of that helped inform the way my character related to him. What I hope fans experience in watching this show is that that we're taking them into a new world, and that they're seeing something they haven't seen yet in the MCU, and that it's a story that that they're going to find, I think, compelling.